The Aldis podcast is brought to you by Aldis International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Aaron Arvey. Aaron is the Director of Machine Learning at Third Rock Ventures. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, JP.
So Aaron, let's start with yourself, please, as we do with all of our guests. Could you give us an overview of your background in technology and your journey from where you got started, some of the roles you've held along the way? What's led you to where you are today as the Director of ML for Third Rock Ventures?
So I can start maybe with undergrad, where I started doing math and computer science. I loved high dimensional statistics, which was a natural intersection of where math and computer science coexisted at that time. And then my senior year of undergrad, I took a course in molecular neurobiology and realized that I should have been doing biology the whole time. At that point in time, I'd already committed to a PhD program. And so I continued down that trajectory in machine learning. Working in non-convex boosting, which at that time, boosting and kind of support vector machines were at the bleeding edge of where machine learning was. And I was able to do it with Joachim Freund, who was one of the co-inventors of boosting and was just a phenomenal scientist and machine learning scientist. At the same time, I moonlighted in a fly lab doing pipetting with Bill McGinnis and his team. And in that setting, took me to a very different place than what I was used to. I hadn't held the pipette essentially since, I don't know, maybe 6th or 7th grade. And so it was very new to me to think about how to do science in a experimental setting. And that experience actually really set me up for a long-term excitement and enthusiasm and really wanting to be as engaged and as close to the science as possible. And after spending a couple of years doing both machine learning during the day and doing pipetting with flies at night, I chased after my romantic partner at the time to New York, where I transferred labs to join Christina Leslie's group and to really focus on the new and burgeoning field of genomics. Was lucky enough while working with her to collaborate with some amazing groups, including the ENCODE consortia, looking at how genes are turned on and off and being able to use some really high throughput data and machine learning to understand how genes are turned on and off genome wide in a number of different cell lines. Also had a great opportunity to collaborate with Debbie Marks, understanding various RNA species and polymerase and gamma herpes viruses. And it was just a really fantastic time to really explore a lot of different potential application areas of where machine learning intersected with biology. After that, I had the good fortune to be invited to Sasha Rudensky's lab, which is a immunology group at Sloan Kettering, where there was a enormous enthusiasm at that time since immunotherapy had just become a possibility, and immunotherapy is still one of the leading actually curative therapies for a number of cancer types. And so collaborated with Sasha Rudensky's group, where I did both experimental work and computational work, kind of started to marry my two interests. And again, just phenomenal time to really be able to explore and go really deep into one very specific scientific domain and really apply machine learning in a way that was really close to the science. After that, joined Gilead, where I collaborated in a number of different ways with the immunology teams, virology teams. In the end, the immunology at that time at Gilead never really took off. And so I kind of wound up focusing much more on the virology side of my interests. Worked on a number of programs. The one that really made a significant impact was remdesivir, GS5734, which in 2017 we published would be relevant for a number of neglected single-stranded RNA viruses, including coronavirus. And so that was actually the very first FDA approval during the pandemic was for remdesivir, which wound up actually having a very significant impact in patients' lives. And that is, I think, one of the hardest thing one can accomplish. And I think one of the things I'm most proud of accomplishing in my career is actually being able to get a therapeutic, helping to contribute. It's a very large team effort, obviously. It was a fantastic collaboration with the CDC, Rob Jordan, and many others at Gilead to get remdesivir across the finish line. After that, consulted for a few years in both diagnostics and therapeutics companies, really found myself gravitating towards startups. And around that time, I started also collaborating with a number of Third Rock companies. Third Rock Ventures is where I am now. And it's been a fantastic journey to go from being a consultant with a number of companies to now actually being within the firm and really identifying opportunities for machine learning and data science to have a really intense impact very early in the drug discovery journey.
Well, thank you for that. Appreciate the detailed background, and it really helps understand your journey to where you are today at Third Rock Ventures. So you talked about starting to work with Third Rock as a consultant, but you've now joined full time. We'll get into your role in a bit more detail in a moment, but let's set the stage for the audience who are not familiar with Third Rock Ventures. So tell us all about Third Rock, who you are, what you do, most importantly, mission of the business.
So Third Rock Ventures is a somewhat unique venture capital firm. So most venture capital firms will source ideas and source company ideas and then fund founders. Third Rock, instead of funding other people's companies, we tend to build companies collaboratively with leading scientists across a number of different disease indications and opportunities. Third Rock is singularly focused on improving patients' lives. And I think this is really reflected in the makeup of the staff, who are predominantly PhDs, MDs, or MD PhDs, and many of whom actually continue to practice medicine and treat patients.
So, Aaron, talk to us then about your role, Director of Machine Learning. Given the role that Third Rock Ventures plays, you're involved in helping a lot of companies build and grow. So, what does that mean for you in your role? Can you walk us through the primary responsibilities from day-to-day interaction with the portfolio companies, assessing new companies, what you and your team are working?
My role is a little diverse. So I spend time with the portfolio, kind of understanding and if there's some significant opportunities within the existing portfolio on how to bring computation and kind of data intensive applications to very specific drug discovery programs. So I spend a significant amount of time with the portfolio, which then has actually given me really wonderful insight into exactly where the rubber hits the road and where the kind of major hurdles are in drug discovery and in diagnostics. So I spend a good amount of time with the portfolio and bringing a team of consultants and a team of computational data experts, both on the scientific side. But then I think the other thing that is remarkably important here is also the operational components, and really making sure that the data science teams within our portfolio, both external portfolio that has been fully launched companies and internal incubating companies that we support on an ongoing basis, really being able to focus on the science and not have to worry about the cloud backend or any of the other kind of high performance computing is something that I think is really important, and something that we've built a fantastic team so that our companies can focus more on the science, and my team can then really support the operational elements of how data science is applied to a given opportunity. So I think half my team is on the operational components and just making sure that we can focus on science when it's time to focus on science. The other half of my team then actually takes advantage of all that infrastructure and really oversees the alignment between how data and computation is applied to both drug discovery and target biology. Those being the two key early stage biotech questions that if we can't get a very good handle on very early in a company's life, it's very hard for those companies to continue. And so that team then really aligns with the core biological theses around what the connection is between the disease biology and the treatment modality that's being considered, making sure there's good alignment there and making sure that every opportunity we have to address that disease for that patient population is considered.
You are listening to the Aldis Podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.aldis.com.
Aaron, given Third Rock Ventures has a long list of exciting companies that you're building and supporting, there's so many examples that we could go into. We probably don't have enough time here today. But is there anything that you and your team have been working on recently that you're particularly excited about, or that would demonstrate the value add that you're having for these startups? A recent example that you could share pretty quickly.
So Third Rock Ventures has launched roughly 60 companies over the last 15 years. From those companies, we've seen 16 now FDA approved therapeutics and diagnostic tests that have come to market. And so it's the measure of enthusiasm for anything we do at Third Rock is, again, its patient impact. And so those projects that I'd say I have been most excited about have been the ones that have really led to those therapeutics being designed differently than perhaps they would have initially, or the diagnostics have been designed differently than they would have otherwise if machine learning, the computational approaches, data science approaches hadn't been used. And so maybe just a couple of examples from the portfolio. One would be our early detection of cancer company, Thrive Earlier Detect, which was acquired by Exact Sciences. And when I joined Third Rock, I joined, I think, the week after Thrive was launched. And so it was a kind of a fantastic opportunity to get my hands dirty early on and to start to build a team around early stage company creation and how we could think about data science in that early stage company creation. And so at Thrive, it was a really unique set of assays that were being performed from a blood draw that could then predict whether or not a person had a specific cancer. And for that company, we were able to build a number of different classifiers using both a lot of different analytes. So taking each independent measurement and using it to aggregate into a machine learning classifier. But one of the other places that we were actually able to have a significant impact was in how actually each of those individual analytes was interpreted, quantified, and then actually featurized, and really being able to integrate machine learning in a more, let's say, end-to-end fashion, which several years ago, that level of end-to-end integration was not very common. And so it was, I think, one of the really first examples to really demonstrate that you could use a high-dimensional analyte and use machine learning applied to it, since there's not a whole lot of other molecular diagnostics on market that actually have machine learning be a significant component.
Aaron, as I said, we could go into countless examples given the number of organizations that Third Rock is supporting and helping grow. But let's talk more broadly around why this is such an exciting time for biotech and life science startup who are utilizing AI and machine learning to advance their research and ultimately get drugs to market sooner. As somebody who sits at the top table and you oversee lots of different companies and what they're trying to work on, can you explain to us why you're so excited about the mission at Third Rock and where you see the potential for this industry going over the next couple of years?
It's a really, really exciting time to be doing machine learning in biotech. Advances in the field are no longer a niche to the field. They're now widely known. So examples like AlphaFold, for instance, where several years ago, I and many others in the field thought it would be very challenging to be able to structure from a protein sequence alone. And I think what the team at DeepMind and John Jumper in particular really demonstrated was that you could, in fact, learn relatively accurate rules for how to do protein folding from a combination of coevolution and learning some implicit energy function. And so I think that these are the kinds of advances that are being rapidly democratized. And I think what's really amazing is that it took, if you look at the history of protein folding, it went from being very low accuracy through kind of the 90s and 2000s to some actually glimmers of accuracy in the early teens. And then in 2018, a significant jump with AlphaFold 1. And then really in 2020, it's very significant with AlphaFold 2. And so it's just been very exciting to see us go now from being able to predict structure to now actually being able to design structure. And I think that's really the shift that from a therapeutics centric perspective, where Third Rock lives and where I live, it's extremely exciting that once you can think about predicting structure, you can actually design specific structures. And now the field is very rapidly moving. Post AlphaFold, there are now dozens of structure prediction methods that have pretty similar accuracy to AlphaFold. And now there are several methods for actually designing proteins either de novo or through kind of some more constrained designs to actually have specific function or specific interfaces with other proteins. And so being able to go from not being able to predict to being able to predict, and then being able to design, and then be able to integrate those designs with kind of a design, build, test hypothesis loop. Those are the kinds of opportunities that are only becoming more and more impacted by using machine learning and similar kinds of technologies. And so it's an extremely exciting time. I think the other thing that AlphaFold and a lot of these very recent discoveries has enabled is that it's also brought the whole field to greater attention amongst our colleagues, such that 5-10 years ago, when I first started industry, the role of machine learning and genomics and everything, it wasn't entirely clear exactly where it contributed, how it contributed. There were a few places that it was pretty obvious, but there was a lot of unknown questions about where exactly machine learning would be impactful. And now it used to be I had to go to pitch teams on ideas for how to improve their workflows. And now that has been completely reversed, where teams now are constantly coming and saying, hey, this feels like something that can actually be addressed with machine learning. How can we go about improving our therapeutic molecule? How can we improve our therapeutic thesis around the biology using some of the many public data sets that are out there? Or how can we generate a data set custom designed to support machine learning applications? And so it's the amount of enthusiasm that's out there now and the amount of impact that is the cause for generating enthusiasm is just very exciting and gives a lot of opportunities for us and others to really pursue.
Absolutely. And with that shift in attitude towards embracing what machine learning and AI can do for organizations, it will obviously lead to further investment, which creates more opportunity for people working in this space. So my final question to you, Aaron, is when you look at the portfolio of organizations across Third Rock Ventures, all of whom are utilizing some aspect of machine learning, what opportunities do you see for people who are currently working in this space, whether it be on the pure data engineering side, whether it's computational sciences or on ML across Third Rock Ventures for people to come and help you guys continue working on this research and bringing more drugs to market?
And I think as you just alluded to, there really are just massive opportunities up and down the full technology stack. So it starts at the very top. Medicinal chemists are making increasing use of machine learning and of computational chemistry methods, and the teams building out the computational chemistry approaches and applying computational chemistry science. They are also making more use of machine learning and data science, which then pushes down to how the data engineers have to think about being able to surface data and be able to store and aggregate data most effectively, which then really gets down to the informatics and IT stacks and really making sure that all of this up and down is well aligned requires a very diverse team and now actually a relatively broad team across our portfolio. And so there's lots of opportunities for folks with really deep domain expertise and those who want to learn life science, who want to learn therapeutics. It is the most team-oriented sport, the most collaborative field I've ever worked in. And so there's a great opportunity to learn it if you want to join a mission-driven organization.
Aaron, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us. It was a pleasure to learn about your own background, your expertise in the life sciences space, and how that's led you now to a really fascinating role at Third Rock Ventures, who are quite honestly doing some incredible work helping these startups get up and running. And it's great to see that even at venture level, there's a focus on having in-house AI and ML expertise to support portfolio companies. And clearly it's working because the examples you gave are really powerful and a lot more growth in store. So for our audience listening, please make sure to check out the companies that Third Rock Ventures are partnering with. And there's going to be lots of career opportunities across that portfolio. So we wish you, the team, and everyone at Third Rock Ventures the best of luck in the months and years to come. And we look forward to having you back on the show.
Thank you very much, JP.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Aldous Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.aldous.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.